Good afternoon, welcome to Sacred Enzyme. It's been a while since we've been on, but I want to dive right back into this Fibonacci spiral that we were talking about last time in the last video, about how these numbers all line up with planets, with elements, and with different archetypes. Okay, all right, so when I started doing this, I started working this out with what these are along the side here and these transitions that happen if you're talking about this Fibonacci spiral unfolding. So you have in the very middle is the sun, which is singularity. Then it goes to polarity, which is moon. Then it goes to Mercury, right, which is in communication. And then as you follow it around, you go to 5, which is Venus. And this is when you have something that is in frequency or it's in a shape. 8 is the embodiment. So we go from creating something to embodying it. Then we go to 13 in the Fibonacci spiral, which we've talked about the 13th archetype. The 13th archetype is what we're doing right now, inner alchemy, right? And then after this, the next number in the Fibonacci spiral is 21, and this is Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter is expansion and outward growth. But if you go to the next number in the Fibonacci, which is 13 plus 21, which equals 34, 34 equals Saturn. Saturn is when you're locking something in. You have to remember that Saturn wears the crown. So we started with the system of Saturn on Earth, and we go back to reorganize our system and lock it into place in Saturn again. And then after we have Saturn at 34, we go even higher to 55. 55, you might add. Remember, we talk about 5 being Venus. Okay, so we got double number Venus, right? So what do you think that means? That means this 5, right? Double time, right? So we're locked and loaded here with Saturn. And then we have this 55, which is this Venus merging. And, you know, I kept wondering why when I started reading this Blavatsky material on the root race stuff, like we talked about a couple weeks ago. And I was thinking, that's really interesting that she says that Venus is Earth's alter ego. And I was like, alter ego, because I know there's some type of a special relationship between Earth and Venus. And I've been told this over and over and over again in my astral, that Venus and Earth are connected in this ascension process. And it is so important that we have to bring elements of Venus to Earth to expand our cycle. So this is what this means. So then, ultimately, after 55, you get Vulcan, you get 34, which is Saturn, you get 55, and then you get Vulcan, and then you get 144, which is the New Jerusalem. So after you work all of this out, you go into 144 in the Fibonacci spiral. You go to Vulcan, then you go to the New Jerusalem. I think Vulcan's 89. I forgot to write the number on it, but it's 89. So after we go from 34, which is Saturn, which locks us in, to 55, which is another expansion, creative, coherent stage, we go to Vulcan, which is 89, which is the next step on the spiral. And Vulcan, if you remember, this is the goldsmith. This is the gold powder cook. There's also a statue of Vulcan in Mobile, Alabama. Not a coincidence, guys, not a coincidence, okay? And then after that, after we become Vulcan, we become golden, we go to 144, which is the total embodiment of the New Jerusalem. And when I talk about New Jerusalem, Jerusalem is a state of being, guys. Just like Christ is a state of being. It's embodying the 13th archetype. This is when the whole planet embodies the 13th archetype, guys. That we've stepped outside of the matrix and we see both sides of the loom And we know that there are two sides and that we have to be the red thread that goes in the middle. We have to ride the wave, guys. This is what we do. This is how we make ascension. This is how we make ascension. And you know, I've been spending a lot of time in astral the last couple weeks, and one thing that I'm absolutely positively sure that I've been doing is I'm helping people phase shift in between dimensions. I've been doing that for 2 weeks, and it is really exhausting, really exhausting. So the one thing that I found was really interesting is that these are all archetypes. So the singularity point, the element is gold. And this is this origin of the state of origin, the source. So this is our pure potentiality. This is undifferentiated unity right here. So then we've got the element of silver right here. This is the planet moon, and this means that this is when we have duality. This is the splitting right here, singularity into I see me, the mirror reflection, right? Duality begins. This is the awareness of the singularity of itself, right? Versus you, me, you and me, right? The first mirror. So you've got 3 after that. I think that's down here. This is Mercury or Quicksilver. This is movement between poles. This is communication and messenger energy. This is like Nike. And Rudolf Steiner says that what we call black African race, or whatever you call that, that some of their star origins came from Mercury, which is pretty interesting because, you know, this, if you're talking about this being a system as beings coming from the sun, they would have probably been plasma, right? And then we would have had this moon, and, you know, we've obviously got something like some kind of moon beings. They would look luminous. And then we've got Mercury, which is cinnabar is the element for Mercury. And so you have this beautiful golden brown color. So, I mean, that's not too far-fetched. So anyway, you've got Earth, which is an alloy, but you've also got Venus. You know, we've got the 5. Where's my 5 on here? Down here. Venus. Venus element is copper, right? Another conductor. All of the old world buildings have Mercury, and they have copper in them. So this is beauty and resonance, attraction, harmonic balance. So this is what I'm calling the field of coherence. This is coherence. This is when things are taking shape and they're forming a pattern. We've been forming patterns for a while, right? And we all come bringing our opinions together here on Earth. We've all combined our opinions, right? And we've come to the determination that we have to embody a 13th archetype right here in order for us to go to Christ consciousness. To embody Christ consciousness, we have to have an integration, a heart awakening. And this is the return to harmony with structure and heart-centered awareness, and us entering the spiral, breaking out of this loop and going into the spiral. So this is what I call the 13th archetype. So I'm going to talk more about the 13th archetype because I really say at this point in time that you could say that the 13th archetype is adopting a Christ consciousness mindset. And this Christ consciousness mindset is a returning that happens over and over because our planet runs on cycles like a clock. We start out here, we work our way all the way around until we get back here and we start over again. Over and over and over. This time, difference is that we have a choice. This is what I've been told. We're going to have a choice what we want. If we want to embody the 13th archetype, or if we don't. If we want to stay here and we want to devolve, that's our option. You always have an option. You want to go with polarity or you want to walk in Christ consciousness. So I'm going to end this video here because I have all this stuff over here. I have tons of notes in this book right here. This is the Florida place name book. And I'm getting ready to go to Blueberry Farm with my friend Serena, and I hope it's my friend Herbert's place. It's some blueberry tea. He lost his blueberry farm in the freeze, and so he rebuilt everything hydroponically. And he was approached by NASA because they want him to teach them how to grow food off-world. I said, "You're going to Mars, buddy. You're going to Mars." So hopefully it's going to be Herbert's, because he told me that I could do a video for the channel. It'll be on the 13th Archetype channel on YouTube. And show everybody what he's doing there. Super awesome, super interesting, and he has been all over the place. Amazing, interesting story. So with that, we're going to talk about how the embodiment of Christ consciousness has been here over and over, and that these times that we've had on the planet where everybody talks about Lemuria and Atlantis and Hyperborea and all these were just a cycle. This is what this is, just a cycle in this clock, just a cycle. This is when that archetype or that planetary influence had control on the Earth grid. And then that is what the embodiment of the planet was at the time. And it all runs on cycles. So we've got different phases. We've got different phases. Lemuria, Hyperborea, Polaris, Polarians, and all of this. All of these different things, but it's an embodiment of an archetype. And Christ consciousness is an embodiment of the archetype of Christ. What we would consider Christ. Walking in Christ, embodying the principle of Christ. This is why Christ is king, guys. Christ is king because we are living at our best self and complete harmony, living and benefiting the earth as a living system, being part of the system of the living earth, not the artificial timeline matrix, not an AI matrix. This is about having the physical experience of putting your hands in dirt and all of these things. But these cycles are marked over and over and over again in place names and city names and lakes and different areas on the map. And so in this Florida place name, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show that this was where the saints were living during the last Christ millennial. They were living in Florida. This is why the whole Southeast was burnt down. It's because they were destroying records. They burnt Alabama and a lot of the southern states and some select states that were in between. It's because these people that were in the South were from an older time. They were from an older time cycle. And they were the 13th archetype, and they had to go. You can't do a reset when you have the 13th archetype. So with that, when you come and find me, I'll be here, because we're living in the past, present, and future all at the same time. And if God's template is not perfect, I don't know what is. Even if you go the wrong way, you still end up going through the wash. So one way or another, you will follow this spiral, either reverse or forward. I'm going forward, guys. We've got to embrace Venus and put on our work boots and you know, pick ourselves up by the bootstraps, because that's what we got to do. So I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I thank you for spending 13 minutes with me, and I hope that you're subscribed to the channel, the 13th Archetype on YouTube. That's where we update you on the seed bank, the heirloom seed program that we're doing, the community garden work that we're doing here, the self-sustainable community. And right now I'm working with my community members, and we're all setting up a bartering system. So I've been bartering soap for eggs and duck eggs and chicken eggs, and we're trading plants and everything else, trading seeds. So join us on the 13th Archetype. So I've got some really great alchemy soap recipes coming up, where I'm going to be picking and dehydrating male pollen, pine pollen for some soap. I've had immersing for probably about 6 months now. Some fresh Scotch pine needles that come from turpentine pine trees. I have had those infused in oil, because those are going to be part of my soap base. And then I harvested the not the milkweed. I harvested the lemongrass from my garden, from my greenhouse, because that's also going to go in that soap. So I'm going to have a pine lemongrass and male pine pollen soap, which is absolutely packed full of nutrients, among a few other little things, to make it extra alchemy and extra nutritious to go through your skin. And then the second soap that I'm going to be doing is going to be an anti-inflammatory pain relieving soap. And for that, I harvested my Vicks plant, which is a succulent type ibuprofen, natural ibuprofen plant. And I'm also going to be using like a spearmint or peppermint, and then a few other things that's going to go in that. And that is going to be for pain and arthritis and stuff. So stay tuned. We're going to be out foraging, out in the woods, getting stuff for those things. And I'm going to just start showing you guys everything that we do around here in this neighborhood to be self-sustainable, how we go out foraging in the woods, and how we're working on our community garden. So with that, thanks for stopping by, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.